Is Donald Trump going to invade Canada? No, probably not. Why? Because Donald Trump, to his credit, really isn't a violence person. He doesn't really like it. He's reticent to do it. That tendency amongst his own base, right, who tend to often be into things like hunting, they tend to be military personnel in many cases. He's not really a hunter. He doesn't really agree with it. He doesn't talk about it. But if you look at it, he kind of gives him the ick. And when things like the military, he just doesn't understand military service at all, right? Reportedly, he said some pretty nasty things about military service personnel that show that he doesn't really have a strong value of it in the first place. But all that being said is he's kind of like not into war. So he's more like a 12-year-old bully on the playground who will throw around his bigger size and talk, in ways that kind of try and force people to get them to do what he wants. But when you stand up to that bully and you say, okay, fine, bring it, he's more likely to go, well, I already won. You've already done what I wanted, so I don't even have to, right? So it's more about the language. So why is he talking about annexing Canada, right? And them being the 51st state? A whole bunch of reasons. But the short rundown of some of them is, one, the Twitter sphere keeps, the MAGA Twitter sphere keeps kind of talking about he's trolling Justin Trudeau. I think there is a little bit of truth to that, right? They're loving it. And I think there is a little bit of truth to it, but it has more to do with Trump's own insecurities. Trudeau's kind of like famously attractive. He's seen as thoughtful and, a respectable leader. And he doesn't suck up to Trump in the same way that, say, like someone like Vladimir Putin does. So Trump is kind of like using them and using Trudeau as a way of kind of like, well, I'm going to bend Canada to my will, right? I'm going to threaten them with tariffs. I'm going to threaten them. I'm going to use this kind of language. And then they're going to have to do things like change immigration policy. And the fact that our world leaders kind of are having these kinds of personality conflicts is really small and really problematic, and they have to stop. But what are the other reasons? The other reasons have to do with things like the idea that the United States should always be expanding. It's kind of like playing the video game Civilization, right? Like the most quick way to win that game would be to conquer the rest of the world. It's kind of like when I was 12, I never understood why Canada wouldn't want to be part of the United States. The idea that other people have their own way of doing things and their own cultures and their own values is foreign to people who don't really understand that other people have their own values and patriotism themselves. But mostly it's because it appeals to his base. His base loves seeing this because they feel put down by our perspective on Canada. Oh, Canada must be so much nicer with their free healthcare, right? So these are people who feel like when he makes fun of Canada, right, or pushes Canada around, that he's sticking up for the United States, which always has to hear how much better Canada is.